So this tutorial is for your self-portrait project. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to collage images together, add textures to things, and adjust the colors of your objects so that you can have a color harmony. For the purpose of this tutorial, I've already gone ahead and selected the images that I'm going to edit. I've decided that I'm going to have a cat fly through space, catching an apple, and on this apple I'm going to put a monkey mouth and this guy's eyeball. And I'm also going to add some fish scales to this apple for my texture part of the assignment. So if I come over here, if you're going to search for textures, all you have to do is type in the word texture and set the search tools to large, and you're automatically going to find a pretty good inventory of textures. But I'm going to search for fish scales. I don't necessarily have to type in the word texture if I already know what my texture is going to be. So fish scales. And I'm going to probably grab 2 or 3 textures that I like in case I don't think it's going to work. So maybe some close-up textures, 3000 dpi, that's pretty good. Far away textures, and maybe this one more shiny. Actually, I kind of like this shiny one the most. It might feel weirder and more space-like. So I got this one. Make sure I hit view image. I'm going to drag these textures. Alright, so now the images for my collage are ready to go, and I'm going to go ahead and start putting them together. For my file, I'm going to go File, New, and create a new Photoshop file. I'm going to change pixels to inches, and I want my project to be horizontal, so I'm going to put my width as 12 and my height is 9. You can make yours horizontal landscape. I'm going to go ahead and make this CYMK. CYMK is for print. So I'm going to go ahead and change my color mode to CYMK, which is print. So if you ever need to print this in the future, all the colors won't look weird when you print it out. We're going to set CYMK to print. We're going to come up, we're going to change our resolution to 300 pixels, which is, again, the pixels you need for print. I'm going to go ahead and name my project. Now what this will do is it will name your project, but it won't save your project. So you're going to name it, and you're still going to have to go to File, Save As to save it in the location that you want. Period, last name, first name, project name. To get all the images we're going to be working with today, you need to download the folder from the work files from my website, or have me send them directly to you. My background is this galaxy color, or this. My background is this space, so I'm going to go ahead, drag and drop. When it drag and drops, it's going to put this little marquee box over it. You're just going to fit it in place. Make sure you hold down Shift. That looks good enough. Now, anytime you see this little box right here, it's going to mean that this is a smart object. And what a smart object is it's linking this actual image to whatever this file is. So if you delete this file, it'll no longer be a smart object. And what a smart object will allow you to do in Photoshop is you can scale it down within Photoshop. This file is still linked to this file. So if I want to scale it up, it maintains its resolution. So if I convert this into raster or pixel, which you're going to want to do later because you won't be able to edit anything unless you rasterize the layer. So if you want to be able to edit it, you got to turn it in pixels. So now, if I make this smaller, let's just make it super tiny. I hit OK, and I scale it back up, it's going to be super blurry. So we don't want that. So just know that if you convert it from a smart object, once this little smart object image is gone, after you rasterize, and some things you are going to have to rasterize, you're going to lose the pixels. I'm just making you aware of that. Let's go ahead and place the cat. So because this cat is a smart object, I can't come in and edit him. Actually, I'm going to hit cancel first. What I want to do before I rasterize him is I want to make him a little bit bigger. So when I cut him out, I got more pixels. So I'm getting most of my pixel out of here. I'm going to come in, now I'm going to edit and rasterize him. So I'm going to come in with my magic wand tool. Now all our selection options are up here. Anything you want to do to a selection will be up here. So Control All reverse. So if you've got a selection and you want to inverse the selection, you can do it'll select the opposite of what you have selected. So for example, if I want to select this square and delete this square out, but I want everything but that square, I can come up inverse and it'll change it to the outside of that square, which is also Control Shift I. I'm going to use my quick selection tool. Now with your quick selection tool, if you make it bigger, it's going to grab more of the selection. If you make it smaller, it's going to grab less of the selection. You can also come in, and if you hold down Alt, see this little minus that you get? It'll minus out areas. So if you come in and grab too much, hold down Alt, minus these areas out. Depending on the object, because we have all this little fur, most of the time if I want to perfectly cut something out, I will use my pen tool like I showed you before and then make a selection from that when we did the portrait quote. But for all this hair, there's going to be too much information. So I just kind of want to get a general selection, and then I'm going to go back in and make sure that I don't have any halos. Or when you have detail that disappears like this, so where your object almost disappears into the background, it's going to be a little bit harder for Photoshop to make those decisions, to make the selection, so I made it a little bit smaller. So now because my selection is actually the outside of this, so when I go to delete it, I've made sure that I've selected the outside of my cat. Now let's actually look at my lines. I get a lot of these weird, maybe not cut out so well. I can come in with this, with my brush tool, or my eraser tool, excuse me. I can put the hardness down, and I can kind of maybe soften up some of the edges that have too much color like that, or soften up edges that I don't want to be so hard that look weird. Like this, well, there's actually a bunch of stuff up here. I'm actually gonna... For demonstration purposes, I'm gonna go ahead and say that this cutout is pretty good. My halos are pretty bad. My halos aren't too bad, and I think this is... Now, if I want to edit this cat in any way, I have to select him on this layer, Control T. So let's say I want him on the other side, Control T. So now if I want to edit him in any way, with one of my selection tools, I can right click on him, come down to Free Transform, and this is where I'm going to be able to scale him up, scale him down. And there's also, if you right click again, it'll show you your Free Transform options. So you can mess with his scale, you can rotate him, skew him, distort him, warp him if you want, make him look like he's being like sucked into a whatever. I'm not going to do any warping on him for now. Oh no, what has happened to my poor cat? Alright. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my apple. And the apple, I actually want you to go ahead and cut this out. You can choose your own method of cutting him out. You can either use your quick selection tool or your magic wand tool. So magic wand tool will select all my white. If you hold down shift, it'll grab more and more and more white. I'm going to try to get all my white selected just by holding down shift. And I'm going to press delete. Oh, but I've got to rasterize this first. Rasterize the smart object. Or my eraser tool and erase out some of my halos. For my apple, I actually think I'm going to do a free transformation on this. And I'm going to do a horizontal flip. Let's see. Because I want my apple to still really be big, but I want to hide that acorn that he's grabbing for without having to cut him out or make it look weird. So I'm covering up this acorn so that my apple can be bigger. Alright, so there's my apple. I would probably actually... I got my apple in here. I think I'm ready to add this monkey face. Now the monkey face... I actually like some of this weird hairy stuff that's going on up here, so I'm not going to just cut out the mouth. I do want the mouth, but just the mouth. I'm going to come in with my lasso, and I'm just going to kind of generally cut out the area of the mouth. I'm going to, now just my mouth is selected. It's going to ask me to rasterize it, so I'm going to rasterize the layer. I'm going to inverse my selection, so Control-Shift-I, or select inverse selection. Now I've got my mouth. I can adjust the opacity so that I can kind of see where this is going. And the tool to move stuff is this tool right here, if you haven't figured out the move tool. I'm going to put maybe the chin, that maybe. Make that mouth a little bit. I just want the mouth area. And now with the mouth, I'm just going to use my eraser tool. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. Actually, you know what? I want his lip to come right up against this edge. So there's also free transformation, warp. And I can kind of nudge this warp tool out. Alright, so I've gone ahead and done the eyeball. Same exact process with the mouth, but this time I did a little something extra. I'm going to show you what I did. So I took my original surprised eyeball layer. I came down and I duplicated it. Okay? So I got a second layer. I turned off my background layer. So now all I have is this top layer. I came up, and in my layer settings, you got all these different things that you can do to the eyeball to give it different effects. I actually want the luminosity effect, and it's going to give me kind of this see-through look, but I still get all the eyelashes. So I still want kind of the flesh shape and some of the eyelashes. I'm going to go to luminosity, and now I'm going to put back on my original layer underneath, and it kind of gives me some of this weird eyelashy stuff with my eyeball, and it still looks like now this eyeball is on this apple. Alright, so what I have left on my apple is I want to add some fish scales to it. So I got my fish scales down here. I'm going to go to my apple layer, make sure that I'm there, so that way when I drag my fish scales, it's going to be right on top of my apple. So all the other layers, this layer is right on top of my apple. So I'm going to actually downsize this. It kind of looks like maybe my light source is coming above on my apple, and the light source on my scale is coming this way. So I'm going to actually rotate my scale so that my light source on my scale is consistent with my apple. I'm going to kind of drag it out. Alright. Looks pretty good. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a mask. So everywhere where I have apple shape, I'm gonna cut out this texture shape. And all I have to do that, I don't even need to rasterize it for now. I'm just gonna right click, or sorry, I'm gonna come over to my layers. I'm gonna hold down Control, and I'm gonna hover over. And once I get this little arrow, it means, oh, let's mask it to the shape below. So it's masked. So now I got kind of the scale. So now I can come back and kind of adjust where I want this. Or maybe right about there. Maybe a little bit smaller if I can. And I'm not going to be worried about distorting my scales a whole lot. That look positioned pretty close to where I want it. I want to rasterize it so that I can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove color from it. So I'm going to go to Adjustment, Hue Saturation. I'm going to come down to the saturation and I'm going to make it grayscale. No color at all. Completely desaturated. That's good. Now I'm going to come to my image levels, or Control L. And everywhere where we have white, that's going to show through where the apple is. So I actually want a little bit more white, a little bit less scale. See how this looks, and then I can go back and make my adjustments. All right, so I've got my levels. Now I'm going to come up into my layer options and change it to multiply. Maybe I'm going to readjust my levels a little bit and kind of see how this fish texture works. Maybe make it a little bit. I guess that texture's not too bad. I'm going to warp it now. Control T, warp, so that the contours of my fish scales are a little bit rounded more, like my apple. And now it kind of looks like a weird pine cone apple, which is okay. So if you don't like, so if I'm going to come back, I'm going to erase out some of this top area. If you don't like some of your texture or some of the texture effects that you get, just try a new texture and see what it looks like. I kind of like this pine cone look. Actually gonna darken that up a little bit. Alright, now before I adjust my colors so that I can make it a color triad or my color harmony, I want to make my apple a little bit bigger. So now if I click on my apple and come in, Control T, make it a little bit bigger, it's going to mess things up. So I need to come over to my layers, everything that is connected to this apple or on top of this apple, so pretty much everything all the way up to the top from the apple. I can press Control and select all of these, or I can come down from the bottom, select the bottom one, hold down Shift, and it'll select everything in between. Now I'm just going to scale this up and move it just a little bit. I'm not scaling it up too much because remember, it's rasterized, so everything that I make a little bit bigger will be a little bit more pixelated. So that's good. Now to colorize this, I cheated a little bit. I did actually choose colors, if you notice, that are already kind of in a triad. And what I'm actually going to do now is I'm going to readjust the colors and tweak them so that the color harmony in my triad, which is going to be orange, purple, and green, I'm going to tweak them so that they work together here. Alright, to get a perfect triad, I'm actually going to come down to a resource on my website. I'm going to come to Resources. And I'm going to come down to Color Schemes and Guides. And this is going to take me to color.adobe.com. And by default, it's going to give me a triad, but color rules, you got analogous, monochromatic, triad, complementary, compound colors, which we didn't talk about, shades, this will give you monochromatic. I want you to choose something that we've talked about. So analogous, monochromatic, I'm going to do a triad. So, like I said, I want to do orange, green, and purple. And it's going to... So here, if you click down here to give you like a little arrow to our main section. So these three colors right here, this one, and this one, I want it to be a little bit more, oh, I didn't know you could change the size. I want it to be a little bit more purpley. Then my green is going to be something like that. And you can come in and kind of adjust where you want this green to be. Alright, so if you come down to the slider, it's broken down in actually the 3 attributes of color. So hue is already good to go. We've already adjusted this top one is going to be hue. If we move this, it's going to mess things up. So we wanted something about right around there. Now, if I click on each individual color, it'll change, but we're in green right now. If you go left over here, it's going to dull it out. This will make it more intense. I want to keep it fairly intense, maybe a little bit darker, keep the intensity, because I'm still thinking about maybe what a green apple would look like, maybe actually a little bit lighter. Still intense, that looks good. The orange for the cat, it's going to give you like another darker color option. I kind of like having this darker color option, so I'm going to keep this orange. And then you're going to take a screenshot. Now, to do a screenshot, there's a button on your keyboard called Screen Print. If you press Screen Print, it will take a full snapshot of your desktop. So I hit Screen Print. If you hold down Alt and Screen Print, it will only capture the individual window you're in, if you got multiple displays or whatever. So here I go. I'm going to paste this right on top. I'm just going to hit Control Paste. And now I have the colors that I want. I'm just going to kind of put it down here in the corner. Alright, there's a couple of ways that I can readjust my cat to get this yellow. I can select my cat layer, and if I want to get this yellow, I can kind of adjust it, maybe eyeball it to kind of the correct yellow, which is one way, or you can make it perfect. I want to make it perfect. So I'm going to come up to Image, Selection, Color Range. And now everywhere I click on this orange, if you look over here in this little diagram, it's going to represent it with white what that orange is. So wherever you have white, it's going to make a selection. So I'm actually going to press this plus sign ink dropper. And now everywhere I click, it's going to pick up all of these oranges in this cat. So the more I click on all these oranges, the more orange selections are going to come up. So I got quite a bit of orange selection. Now it'll make a selection. Ooh, it grabs some of this stuff over here. It won't fill. Well, it will fill, but... So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink drop this orange, or I guess it's like a yellow orange. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to fill, which again was Alt Delete. And now we've got a fill on top of that. So I'm going to keep my selection. So we got everywhere we had that orange, we got this new fill. And I'm going to come up to normal, come down to color, and it'll be this exact color. Maybe give it a little bit of opacity. With my apple, I'm actually going to just bring this over a little bit and just try to match it. And then with Now I need to rasterize my... I'm just going to do a complete color overlay. I'm going to select this purple. I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to fill this whole background. And I'm going to hit color. So now it actually has given me this main color so that I have a very nice triad.